You clicked on this video because you're interested in launching a social impact project, program, initiative of some sort, and you just don't know where to start. You may be feeling overwhelmed, feeling all in your head, feeling like your idea is too big to become reality. Or you're a leader that is already leading one of these types of projects, but some things you want to see differently, some things you want to change, some things you want to go back to the drawing board and revamp. I have 5 tips that I know will help you out to continue your journey or get started on your journey. Let's dive in. So the first strategy that I would encourage you guys to do is to study your industry. When you're coming up with your idea, remember that you aren't the first one to do what you're trying to do. There are so many other organizations that are doing similar activities or maybe doing the same activity that you're wanting to do. But the unique thing about studying other organizations is figuring out what activities work for them, how did they get to where they are, how are they managing their budget, different things like that. But you can also learn from their lessons. So what are some things that didn't work out for them? What are some activities that really didn't hit at the root of what they were trying to solve? And as you continue to develop your concept and bring structure to it, you can also discover what sets my organization apart. I think that's another thing that sometimes discourages new people that are interested in social sector or social impact work. It's like, oh my gosh, there's so many other nonprofits that are doing what I want to do. Well, there's only one you, and there's only one area that, they can reach unless they have, national or global connections, and so to speak. But if you are in a specific community and you understand the unique needs of that community, don't count yourself out, because you have an advantage over other organizations that may not be aware of specific community-based issues that are going on. And so I just want to encourage you guys to, do your research on local nonprofits, foundations, community-based organizations, to not only just study the activities that these people are doing, but also studying how they're fundraising, how they are branding, how they're doing simple things, because that'll be able to help you on your journey as you begin to develop your nonprofit concept. So now that you guys have done the research that is necessary related to your sector, you've studied all the different organization types there is, you are looking at the activities that are being done, you're looking at how organizations are fundraising, how they're marketing their stuff, how they're doing all of the things that has gotten them to where they are. Now it's time to actually bring some clarity to your own program concept. In my personal experience launching several programs in the higher education space, a lot of times I personally struggled with connecting the dots. And so I would have these wonderful ideas, but I didn't have any goals, any outcomes, any measurements, or any actual hard data that was backing up the concept and why the concept is necessary. A lot of people don't like to do data. They don't want to do an evaluation, metrics, and all the things that come with that. But it's very critical that you're able to connect your idea to something that can ground it. Otherwise, you probably won't get the funding or the support that you need, because you just have a great idea. We all have great ideas, but those that are the strongest are the ones that have a cause and effect. So this is the cause, this is the effect, this is the data that is necessary to support why my organization is needed in this space. And those are the things that speak most well, in my opinion, to funders and donors, and even just getting support as you are in the beginning stages of developing your program concept. And so somebody may be asking, well, I don't even know how to find data on my issues. So if you're wanting to work with populations that are food insecure, where do you find the data to help support your cause and what you're trying to do? Well, that's what we have Google for. There are a lot of peer-reviewed articles and journal databases that you guys can look into. So some of my kind of go-tos are JSTOR. You have ResearchGate. There are so many articles and just peer-reviewed things that you can review. And then, of course, there are certain books. You do have to be careful with, books, but usually scholarly written articles and published journals that have been peer reviewed are what most people go to. And so you also have the Google Scholar version of Google. And again, these are very basic. There are so many more databases that you guys can engage in. I always encourage people to check out your local library, especially if you're wanting to develop a more community-based organization, focusing on specific communities within your area. You never know what research you can find in your local library, but you have to do the work. You have to have the data. You have to get the numbers and all the demographic resources that you're going to need. And it's going to take hard work, but once you have that data, it really anchors your program concept. And so once you have the data to anchor your program concept, then you can clearly develop the outcomes, the goals, the different metrics of how you're going to evaluate your outcomes and your goals. And that is really is what's going to help you communicate why you do what you do and why what you're doing is necessary. Strategy 3, now it's time to develop an actual program plan. So you've done all the research related to the data that you need, as well as other organizations that are comparable to what you are trying to do. Now it's time to focus on your stuff and bring some meat to the bones. And so with program plans, I want you guys to be flexible, have fun with it. When I worked on a program plan for a current program that I'm overseeing in higher ed, it took me several months to really define what it is that we were trying to do. And I actually did the program plan by myself. And so I came in just kind of blindsided and not really knowing. But the good thing about me not having access to certain things or not really knowing the protocol of how to do certain things, I was able to be creative in what I envisioned and what I saw, and then anchoring that vision to, again, the metrics that I talked about in our previous point. And so here I've jotted down a few things that I want you guys to consider as you begin to develop your program plan. We have a project summary, your program description, have some goals and objectives, have some outcomes, include the stakeholders that you're going to be engaging with, a timeline of activities that'll help you delineate what you're actually going to need to do. This helps a lot of people when it comes to fundraising and bringing awareness to their programs. Have a marketing and a communications plan, develop a budget, and then have an evaluation plan. And I will be covering all of these topics in another video, but for right now, these are the 9 things that I believe is important for you guys to include in your program plan. All right, so now that you guys have the program plan, or you're at least working on the program plan, because program plans do take time and you can't go back and revise them. The next thing I would encourage you guys to do is give feedback. A lot of us sometimes are afraid of feedback, but feedback is a very powerful thing when it's coming from a good, reliable source. I would encourage you guys to engage with people that don't know you, people that are unfamiliar with the concept that you are trying to develop, and those that are in the sector that you're wanting to step into, or the industry that you're wanting to engage with. So again, if you are wanting to engage with populations that are food insecure, or maybe you can reach out to a local nonprofit leader that runs a food bank or a shelter that provides resources, including food, just to get some feedback on what they think about your program plan, how they feel about your data, if it's strong enough that really helps anchor what you're trying to do and your vision. And then, of course, you can get feedback from other people. So, maybe a donor, someone that is in the fundraising space, because it's helpful to get perspectives that are in different sectors and spaces. So how do you communicate your program plan to someone that you're asking funds from, versus how do you communicate your program plan to a local nonprofit leader that is actually doing the work that you will be doing? Those conversations can look very different. And so just making sure that you're getting proper feedback, taking that feedback, and allowing those that are around you to catch some of those errors that maybe you didn't see, especially when you are working on everything by yourself. There are a lot of new people coming into the social sector space that are just doing everything on their own and don't have the proper resources that are necessary in the human capital to support them. And so you always want to make sure that you're getting proper feedback. Now, if you have a team, if you have a group of volunteers that you're currently working with, of course it'll be, optimal to get their feedback and get their input and see how they feel about what you're wanting to do, especially if you're planning to partner with them or have them help you with the activities that are to come in the future. All right, so the final strategy that I have for you guys is to organize yourself and get started. There's never really a good time on launching or doing anything. You just have to step out on faith and put yourself out there. And specifically in the social sector, there's a lot of networking and engaging with others that is required. And so if you don't put yourself out there and bring awareness to your organization, then no one will know the wonderful work that you're doing. But to do that, you again have to be organized. And so I encourage new leaders, especially if you don't have a team, you don't have a lot of resources that you're working with, to develop a project management system. You can glean from your timeline of activities in your program plan. I think this will be really helpful. So the timeline of activities is just a guide saying, hey, these are the activities that I'm going to engage in to bring awareness to my program, to get stakeholders involved, and or to bring fundraising, whatever that looks like for you. And again, as you organize yourself, be kind to yourself. Take your time, don't rush. Some people can develop something really strong in 6 months. Some people it takes several years. Your journey is your journey. But the foundation of building a solid network and having the proper activities in place to bring those key people in is what's going to be very critical in the early stages as you are developing your program concept or project or whatever. So there are a few project management systems that you guys can check out. Trello and Asana are my top two. And then, of course, Microsoft has a lot of free apps if you have their suite that you can engage with, especially as you're connecting with people, developing, activities and such. I personally love OneNote from Microsoft. If there's something that's more in your price range or is free, through your organization, it's simple, straight to the point. Or you can be old school, get a whiteboard, get a notebook, and just write out everything. And as you begin to get the funds and the resources and things that you need, you'll be able to engage in those project management software. The biggest thing is to organize yourself and be ready to really engage and activate yourself or activate those that you are working with, so that you guys can bring awareness and get that key support for your program.